Welcome to
Separate Bathrooms and other handy marriage tips.
Welcome to Separate Bathrooms and Other Handy Marriage Tips. My name is Cameron Dado. This is my wife.
Oh, Ali Dado. I always miss my cue. That's terrible.
It's because I'm staring at you through glasses. I'm probably look cross-eyed, do I?
That was such a announcer doing that then. You were just like, this is Smooth FM, Cameron Dado. That was full-on announcing.
Was it? Was it business?
Very business. Very business-like.
Because I've been listening to the podcast go to air and I'm hearing the teaser that goes up, you know, the song, which is from my record, 10 Songs and Change.
Wow. Let's just plug that in while we can.
No one else is. The song, I'm trying to remember the song.
Doesn't matter.
Because it's on
Or
there.
do you still need to plug it a little bit more?
Oh, dear me. Yes, it is Steve McQueen. That's the beginning of Steve McQueen.
There you
the
go.
song Steve McQueen. My favourite actor, Steve McQueen. When I hear that music, it just fires me up and I want to get started. Anywho, we're sitting here in our living room. The dogs are at Ali's feet. They've just been newly shorn. They don't know who each other is. I'm sure they do, actually, because they sniff each other's bums. They know exactly who they are. They just go, geez, you look different, Dobby.
They do.
You do too, Curly.
They do. It's springtime right now, so it's that newly shorn look, which I love. They're so soft.
Yeah. Yeah,
Hey,
I reckon they dig
listen.
it. Yeah.
I have possibly a bit of an announcement for you. Are you ready?
Yes.
So I went for a hike today with my dear friend, and she's into golf.
Oh, yeah.
I know. I've got your attention, don't I?
Yes.
And she really wants me to get into golf.
Oh, so a friend of 3 years wants you to get into golf. Your husband of almost 30 years
very
has been
different.
wanting... How's that different?
And can I tell you, every woman right now listening to this knows exactly what I'm talking about.
What are you talking about?
Because getting into golf with a girlfriend who's at a similar level to me is so much more fun than getting into golf with my husband, who's been playing since he was 5 years old and who takes it so seriously to the point where I want to beat you over the head with a club. So, little difference in how we would play the game.
right,
But she said something to me. She said,
I'm glad.
She said, I look around and look, here's the thing, honey, I know you've said this, but you know how sometimes when you hear it from someone else,
Right.
She said, I look around and there's like 80-year-olds, 90-year-olds playing golf, husband and wives playing golf out there. And she said, I want to be one of those people. I don't want to get to my old age and not have anything that I go to do. And what's better than being outside and playing a game? And she goes, isn't that great? And I thought, yeah, that actually is really good. But how can I admit this to my husband when I've hung so much stuff on his golf?
Staff being SH1T.
So anyway, I'm just letting you know
You guys are thinking about it.
there's now become a small possibility that I may get into golf, but I think I may just not tell you about it and then we'll play a game and I'll beat you.
Look, See, that's it. You think that you think I'm so competitive.
Honey.
And wait, let me finish this. Because this is actually really important. You say I'm so competitive, which I am.
Yes.
But when I play with you, I don't give a crap about whether I'm beating you or not. I want to play better golf. So I'll compete against myself and I'll be disappointed if I don't execute the shot that I want to do. But as far as playing you, I don't care. I just want to play with you.
Yeah.
Now, but you just said then, so I'm not going to play, I'm not going to tell you, and then we're going to play together. I'm going to beat you.
Yes.
Now, so who's the one who's competitive? Not I. It's you. And if I do beat you, you go, you're such a bad winner.
Well, you are, though.
It's not true. So we've just finished. Okay, so the AFL season is finished, and you did so well in the tipping competition.
Yes.
And who was barracking hardest for you, even though I was only 2 behind you?
Yes.
Your husband.
Yes, 100%.
I was right there.
You wanted me to win.
I wanted you to win.
I know. And yet I've played many other board games, card games with you, chess. And I also know how competitive you are. And then when you win, what happens? So I'm just saying.
I win. Because I think intellectually you are ahead of me.
I don't know about that.
I thought you said, yes, that is true. I do know about that.
Speaking of intellectuals, let's jump into what our topic is about today, which is, it's a really interesting one. It's from an Instagram post from one of our favorite relationship therapists, Dr. Alexandra Solomon.
You might remember her because we were fortunate to be able to speak with her a few months ago in an earlier episode of Separate Bathrooms.
Yeah.
She spoke to us from Chicago.
Yes, and about her book, Taking Sexy Back. So she has a post that she popped out a couple of days
Sounds like a baby.
ago.
Popped out the post.
I'm sure she didn't pop it out. This has taken a lot of thought, what she's done. It's really interesting. She writes, love exists in cycles of connection, disconnection, and repair. Love is alive, dynamic, and ever-changing. Our work is to move with, not against the currents. Cultivate and savor experiences of connection, practicing humility and kindness during experiences of repair. And I just thought that was so beautiful and so true in relationships, particularly I believe in longer term relationships. The shorter ones might not go through as much, disconnection and repair and cycles like that.
Because you start with your connection, and then in the shorter ones, then you have a disconnection, and then it's like, okay, I'm done.
Sometimes. But in those longer term ones, and I particularly took note of this because I really related to what she was talking about.
In what way?
In referencing in those times in our relationship when we're connected, right? When we're going along really well and everything's hunky-dory and we're feeling really close and intimate. And often I don't sort of, savor those moments and sort of just check in and be 100% conscious of like, this is so good. I love this feeling. This is what brings me great joy when we are together in this way. And then how often right after those incredible moments or days or whatever, where we're so close with each other, there's this horrible, jarring experience where we blow apart. And it seems to be quite common, not every time with us, but, and then I just hate that. And then
you mean you're saying it's a common experience for us?
It has, at times it has been common. Mm-hmm. And then we have to go into the next cycle of repair. So she talks about being conscious of all 3 parts of that cycle.
So the 3 parts are connection, disconnection, and repair. Yeah, I like the quote because I've never heard it put so succinctly.
Yeah.
That there are 3 phases, and we all know when we're connected to someone, and that's a great feeling. And we know when we're disconnected from someone and you're going, what the is going on? And then when through the communication, which we've spoken so often about, or so much about, is communication, but is that repairing that comes through communication. So, you're either in one of those 3 phases, or you're in a confluence of 2.
Right. Yeah.
And so if what she's saying, love is alive, dynamic, and ever changing, it's an ever evolving thing. And it feels for me that the beauty of being in a long-term relationship, or even one that goes through 1 or 2 cycles of this connection, disconnection, and repair. Would you agree with this, that during the repair phase, you go deeper, you learn more about the other person, and you learn about yourself more in that repair phase, which makes the relationship better?
That's a really good question. Yes, if if you do the repair in a way that means that there's not that cycle about that particular thing isn't going to come up again. Do you know what I mean? Because okay, so say an action is taken that is hurtful to the other person.
Right.
And repair happens. And in that repair, that the other person goes, I'm so sorry. I won't do that again. Right. I see how that hurts you. And then, yes, for that time, it's like, okay, I can relax. This is not going to happen again. I feel the repair in this. Though if that issue continues to be an issue in the relationship, then the repair feels disingenuous and you don't go deeper. So if you go deep, the depth happens when the repair is a permanent repair.
Right. Well, clearly then we must have the deepest relationship ever because we've never gone through a partner relationship where something has been re-perpetrated.
True. And
is that even a word? Re-perpetrated?
I don't know.
Has been perpetrated again.
And we still don't watch reality shows, right? We still don't do that.
Not even one. And I've turned down every offer to host one as well, and so have you.
That's right.
So thank goodness for that.
100%.
Hey, yeah. Look, I get that. Yet we're dense. I think humans, we're dense. Sometimes it takes us a few times to get it right, and the repair is never it's like if you make an analogy of a muscle tear or something, and like these footy players who just go out there and hurt themselves and then they'll repair it, and then that horrible moment when you see it happen on the field where it happens again.
Yeah. And
they know it's another 8 weeks, months, maybe a year off the game. So, I think even, I always want to cut myself some slack, in terms of sometimes the repair takes a couple of shots.
It's not what I said.
It's not what you said?
I didn't say that the repair happens and it's never going to happen again. I'm saying if after multiple times of the other person going, I'm so sorry, that won't happen again. I'm so sorry that. If that is a repeat, the repair begins to feel disingenuous because that's part of the apology as well. So,
well, we've gone through that with the kids, haven't we? Where I've yelled at them and then I've apologized. I'm sorry for yelling. I'll never do that again. And, 6 weeks later, there I am yelling again about something. But, so, yeah, it's not a cut and dried thing.
It's not a cut and dried.
Sorry, that's the way I took what you said. It's a cut and dried thing. And because of the human aspect of us where it's so nuanced. And I found that in our relationship, once we got through the big stuff that could have caused us to blow apart, our challenges became a lot more subtle and a lot more difficult to identify. The problems were more
smaller things.
Harder to identify.
Look, I think the recognizing the connection, disconnection, repair. It is so much easier said than done because it's to be able to, like in the repair part, which to me repair is sort of the apology part as well. Like even if the thing that you do now in the yelling, if you use as an example with the kids, is that that if you do yell, what happens is that you come back and go, I'm really sorry I yelled at you. I'm really actually feeling frustrated at A, B, and C, and that's why I yelled at you.
Right.
So that is a depth. Going back to that original question, I agree with you. There's a depth that has an understanding for you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you've now gone, you're not just going, oh, I'm so sorry I yelled at you. I won't do that again. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, because that's just a setup to fail.
Yeah. But you've gone, I've yelled at you again. Okay. I'm coming to you with an apology and I want to tell you why I yelled because I understand this better for myself now.
Right.
And that's the repair as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in that, so I find the repair stage quite present, for one word, because I feel in the disconnection, I struggle with that, and the connection is lovely, and sometimes I can just take that for granted.
Yeah.
And you go, oh, this is great, and then you kind of go a little bit numb, to what's going on and not maybe have the gratitude, like you were saying when you earlier about being really grateful and really acknowledge, wow, this is really good.
Yeah.
Isn't this exciting? The repair phase, I find, is when that's a working phase. It's a conscious, and I don't mean work in terms like it's a pain in the ass. I mean, it's a conscious phase of, yep, I'm going to pay attention to my thoughts. I'm going to pay attention to what I'm doing, to my actions, and what do I want from this relationship?
Yeah.
What do I want to give, and what have I messed up?
Yeah.
And how do I want to do that differently?
One of the best examples I feel like she mentions is when, and I don't know how many people can relate to this, but I know I can, is when couples go away on holidays and everything's amazing and no one's fighting and, it's all hunky-dory because, A, you're out of your home. There's not the chores. There's not the cooking. You're hopefully in somewhere beautiful. And then you get back home and those dizzying heights, it comes crashing down really quick because all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, who left the bowl out on the thing while we were on holidays? And I've got to go do this. I've got to go record that. I've got to go do the washing. You know what I mean? And all those things.
You're talking about me now, aren't you?
No,
I leave the bowl out. I've got to go and record.
Talking about the both of us. So that I understand. But knowing that may be on the horizon for a couple, like, okay, you know how this happens when we come home from holidays? You know how that part where we come crashing down? Let's be conscious of that part so it doesn't feel so incredibly jarring to us. And that's what she's recommending, to find that space of going, all right, this is where we normally start to fall way down off the pedestal of happy, happy, joy, joy. So let's see what we can do to change that. Just even by acknowledging it is really helpful.
Yeah, I guess part of it, when you talk about the jarring aspect of it, that you've had such a great time, and then and this probably relates to what I was talking about before about the numbing or the going unconscious when things are really good, because often I'll get really surprised by the fact that it's fallen apart. Even though it's happened 84 times.
That's your little Piscean mind, I think.
God, how did we get here? It was so good, Like, what are you talking about? This is falling apart. Shit.
Yeah.
And it's the surprise of it. But actually, I suppose it's not so much having the expectation that's going to happen, but simply being aware that this
might.
It probably will, as much as we've often spoken about the tides come in and the tides go out as a metaphor for a relationship. Like right when that surf's coming in, it's great. Well, there's going to be a turn of the tide. The tide is going to naturally go out. And so you have to ride that. Or the other metaphor, which I really love, is that metaphor, I don't know if we've mentioned it, but is the dance of love. And that when you dancing with your partner and you come close and you have this wonderful moment where you're dancing really close, and then you have the separation, and to allow that space to go between you, you're still connected.
Yeah.
But you have that separate part of you where you're doing your own little boogie.
That's when you're normally doing like the worm on the floor, and I go, give him space.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Or the moonwalk, or
spinning.
The twist.
Yeah. Any of those moves that you just pull out on the dance floor.
Or the walk to the bar and watch you dance with some other dude for a while.
and click
I
your
go,
fingers.
she's pretty good, isn't she, mate? Yeah, want another beer?
Oh, dear.
She loves that dancing, doesn't she? Yeah. Better get out there and save her from that Wally.
See, I'm challenged.
Curly's looking at me going, what are you talking about?
The dog's like,
The
no,
dog.
Dad. I can't stand the disconnection part. I really have a lot of challenge with the disconnection part, and I find it deeply affects me. And she talks about this in the post, which made a lot of sense to me, because she mentions for those of us who grew up in families of divorce, which I did, or a dysfunctional family, those disconnections can feel even more disorientating because you don't know how far down the rabbit hole the disconnection's going to go. And, have we reached this point of no return? And when I would see my parents, be in a divorce, it changes your experience to me of fights. It's like, this could be the end. This might be the end of everything. I don't feel that as much now with you, but I remember that was terrifying for me for many years when we would have a fight and that disconnect, that it was like, and also the people pleaser in me just gets so ignited in that disconnect where I think, how is this going to be fixed? And then if it's been my doing, coming to that space of accepting that I've created the disconnection, now I need to go and work at the repair. It gets very heightened for me.
I'm amazed to hear that, actually.
Oh.
Yeah. Because, I don't know, sometimes I feel like we disconnect a lot.
Yeah.
And it can go in phases. Like, if this is a 1, 2, 3 system that just keeps cycling through, sometimes we can cycle through a few of these cycles inside of a month.
And maybe in a day.
Yeah. It's a bit like Melbourne, is it? 3 seasons in one day. Connection, disconnection, and repair. Yeah, that can all happen in a very short amount of time. Tell me then, if you're okay with telling me, how do you disconnect? What does that look like for you? And what will cause you to disconnect?
The disconnection happens when I feel hurt by you. And again, especially from when I feel we've been so connected and it's been so beautiful.
Right.
And then if you turn and say something that's really hurtful or take an action that feels really hurtful, that's where I disconnect. And that's where I can go, oh, that just hurt so much because we were just so close. There was so much love between us that I could feel. I felt so good, and then crashed to the ground. And I hate that feeling.
Do you reckon it's because of during that intimacy of coming together with the connection that it's a fear of, oh my God, I feel so vulnerable and running away from that and creating a disturbance to make the disconnection happen?
Well, I mean, that may be well, in my scenario, that would be a question for you. In what I'm saying there, would I created the disconnection because I've just felt really vulnerable? I don't feel like I want the disconnection. I don't feel like that's a reaction to the vulnerability and the love. Yeah.
You and I went away for a wedding, and I remember we got into it a bit on the day. Well, it was the day we were coming home, I think, and I made some goofy comment that was not goofy. It was more about something about that didn't happen, that I wanted it to happen, and you got upset going, we've just had a great time and you go and say that so mean. And it was like, I remember at the time feeling like I just wanted to, I thought we were going to be like this or do this or this was going to happen and it didn't happen. And now I'm left going, well, I'm swinging in the breeze again. And I remember thinking, this is a few times in being together, I wish I hadn't brought up such and such a subject because it's just pushed us further apart. And you'll go, you do this, we feel so together, and then you'll go and bring something up and it creates the disconnection. And I'm still figuring that out. I'm still figuring out that behavior.
Right.
Because often the repair comes not long after that, or I feel in that disconnection, which I really struggle with, feeling that disconnection. And my mum and dad are not divorced, but I still struggle with feeling disconnected
Yeah.
from you. And that's probably a mother issue, in terms of wanting to be connected to my mum as a kid. But the repair starts. And I think early on in our marriage, the repair was going, oh, I'm sorry, and sucking it up and just trying to save you from your feelings. And me just stuffing whatever I needed underneath the rug. I don't know if anyone relates to this, but it's that... I think that's where some people might go, I don't want to do the repair, I'm out. And that's a shame, because often during that repair, that's where the greatest intimacy comes, and the greatest presence, I think, comes.
It does take I think the repair is in the vulnerability is in the repair more than anything, because to me that's when I have to own what I've done in order to create the disconnect. And I think that's where it's really vulnerable for me. And, in how she talks about, naming the moment, we can expect the tender moments and therefore work with it instead of resisting it or judging it or blaming your partner for it. So in this, in what we're talking about, being able to name it, being able to, instead of resisting the disconnect or resisting the repair.
Right.
Make it a tender, kinder place, to be for each other. She talks about too, which I really liked these questions at the end here. We'll pop this up on our Facebook, of course, because you can read the whole transcript of what she's talking about. She asks the questions, which phase of the cycle tends to be the biggest struggle for you? Well, I think we kind of just discussed that. My biggest struggle is definitely the disconnect.
Well, we agree.
Yeah.
That's mine too.
Yeah. It'd be interesting if other people, the biggest struggle would be, well, she's written it out differently. So savoring the calm. So that's sort of like, it's not just like enjoying the calm. It's like being conscious of the calm.
And the calm is the
that.
connection.
That's the connection.
Right.
And then tolerating the rupture. So that's the disconnection.
Tolerating the disconnection.
Yeah.
So you tolerate that. Go, okay,
Yeah.
we're in disconnection and I'm okay.
Right. And then leaning into the repair.
That's why, aren't they interesting? Savoring, tolerating, and then leaning in. I love the term leaning into something. I'm going to lean into this idea or lean into that notion or lean into this, what I'm going to do. And leaning into the repair is, like I said, to me, that's the one where I'm feeling the most present.
Yeah.
And active and going, oh, wow, I'm learning something here.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that's really...
I know people who find that really the most challenging part as well is in the apology and in the repair, that can be the most confronting part of it. And it's a good question to ask ourselves, why is that the hardest part? Because of our family history or our personality or, past relationships, they all bleed into why those three phases can be the hardest. So it's a lot to think about. I like it.
Yeah, and it's good that for a simple mind like mine, where I can break it down to three things. Go, all right, I'm in one of three phases right now.
Yeah.
And in understanding that makes it tolerable, I suppose.
Yeah, or certainly, yeah.
Or savourable, or leaning inable.
It's very much, it makes us conscious
of
what's going on.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, right. Good talk.
Yeah.
Good talk, honey.
Thanks, honey.
Please, if you have any topics you'd like us to discuss, hit us up on our Facebook page, Separate Bathrooms and Other Handy Marriage Tips, or similarly on Instagram, Alison at...
No, just Ali Daddo.
Oh, you're right.
We've been saying
What am
it
I
for
doing?
44 episodes. That's
oh my
funny.
God. At Ali Daddo. I was going to give you my email address, Cameron at. Yeah, Cameron Daddo, and yeah, just let's keep the discussion going. This is a really good topic.
And thanks again to Dr. Alexandra Solomon, who we follow on Instagram, and you might want to do that as well. She's really a fabulous relationship therapist. Thanks so much for listening.
Yeah. See you next time.
Cheers. Bye.
Good, you are still here. It's me, still in the bathroom. Ali's left me here to give this as much of a polish as we do on these recordings, and I just feel I have to acknowledge something. Back at the top, Ali surprised me with the news that there's a small possibility that she may take up golf. My reaction to her news is what I feel I need to address. I turned what was an incredibly awesome surprise for me into a whiny, kind of childish rant about how I've encouraged her to play golf since we met 30-odd years ago, which she hasn't, and now she's going to do it with her new friend. Oh, so instead of getting excited and supporting her, I made it about me, and thus quite possibly diminishing the chances of her playing golf with me. I do this a lot, so I'm learning. Note to self, and anyone who can relate, next time your partner offers you something that you've wanted for a long time and it doesn't quite look like the picture you had in mind, just say, that's amazing. That's incredible. I'm thrilled. Maybe we'll get to play together, and leave it there. Still learning. Thanks for hanging around. Back with more next week. I'm going to go talk to my wife. Stay safe. Repair mode, right?